Everything's just peachy in the garden. Stop by right after this for a look at some sweet ideas. Hi, I'm Alan Smith. Welcome to the show. You know, I love everything about peaches. It has to be one of my favorite fruits. I love the aroma, I certainly love the taste, and I even love the color. We're going to talk about all of these ways peaches can stimulate our senses in today's show. I want to take you to the heart of Texas where we're going to taste a delicious peach cobbler. You see, Chef Scott Campbell creates this on the fly. He says it's a recipe so easy that he encourages getting his kids involved. And do you know the difference between cling and freestone peaches? Well, we'll sort that out. Take a look at these beauties. You know, I love peach-colored flowers. And whether you grow them or you buy them at the store, I'm going to give you 3 ideas that are so simple for bringing the outside indoors in a beautiful way. And just like that peach cobbler recipe, these are ideas that you can drop and go. Straight ahead, we've got more peachy favorites from the garden. We're back right after this break. The peach is undoubtedly one of those delicious signatures of summer, and they don't get much fresher than this, just picking them from the trees. In this orchard alone, there are over 14 varieties, each with its own subtle characteristics of flavor, color, and texture. But of course, peaches are divided into 2 distinct categories, cling and freestone. You see, these terms refer to whether the seed or the stone actually tears away from the flesh of the peach. For instance, take a look at this fire print. You can see how easily the flesh tears away from the stone. That's why it's called a freestone. The flesh of the cling peaches, on the other hand, clings to the stone. Now, the difference in these categories of peaches goes beyond this. Whether they're cling or freestone has a bearing on the flesh. You'll find even canned peaches will indicate the category on their label. Let's take a look at the cling varieties first. They tend to ripen earlier in the season. They're some of the first peaches you'll find in the market, and their flesh is generally firmer. Now, the freestones, on the other hand, ripen later, and they tend to be softer and juicier. They're easy to use in cooking, and to peel and slice them is a snap. The origins of the foods we eat have always fascinated me. For instance, the peach. Well, it originated in China and was developed by the Persians and was considered a great luxury among the early American colonists.
The longer the peach stays on the tree, the better flavor it has.
While most of the peaches we eat today are grown by large commercial growers, some small orchardists, like Larry and Pat High, offer 15 varieties of this delicious fruit throughout the season.
This variety here is called Fire Prince, and you can see it's got a good load of peaches on it.
Beautiful.
And we'll be picking these in the next few days. You know, they're ripe now and they're ready for picking, from the Red Havens and early Reds on through to the Albertas and past and Jeffersons. Those have been on the tree a long time. The Crest Havens and the Lorings and Fire Prince, those are all real good peaches. And those are real good flavored for canning or freezing. The first ones that get ripe are out on the ends of the limb, like this. And what you look for is fullness and color. Make sure there's no green around the stem. If you've got good color and fullness, it'll probably be ripe.
To me, there's nothing better than the taste of these fresh peaches, grown locally and in season. So remember to support your local farmers by purchasing their homegrown produce. One last thought. For the best flavor, when buying peaches, try to purchase them around the day you'll be eating them. You see, they'll ripen much faster than you think. And if you can't eat all of them fresh, try freezing them. They'll make a delicious treat when peaches aren't in season. Now let's say you plan to enjoy your fresh picked peaches right away, but something came up. How do you keep your produce fresh? Well, here are some tips, not just for peaches, but for many common fruits and vegetables. You see, the average family can waste up to $5 worth of fresh produce each week, and that can really add up. This loss can be directly related to the fruits and vegetables themselves and how long they're kept before eating. You see, the natural ripening process of foods involves the release of ethylene gas. Its presence actually speeds up the ripening process. One solution for this is to use two crisper drawers in your refrigerator, one for ethylene producers and the other for those sensitive to the gas. Separating these foods can slow the ripening. Up next, peachy flowers for the home and garden, and a little later, the easiest peach cobbler you've ever seen. We're back right after this. Now, I have to say, I really enjoy using peach-colored flowers. There's something about them, they just play well with others. If you think about it, it's a color that works well, obviously, with green, but also pale yellow, certainly creamy white, and of course gray. All those silvery grays are beautiful with peach. And then there's lavender and blue. So as you can see, it really does play well with others. Some of my favorite roses in my garden really spring from this color family, such as the rose Colette. It's a vigorous grower and has beautiful foliage that's disease resistant. Oh yeah, I can't forget about crepuscule. It's a very old rose that dates back to the mid-19th century. We used it here on this French-styled house. You know, the great thing about this color is it really is good from spring, summer, well into the fall. Just think about these colors with autumn leaves. Pretty good, huh? Now I want to give you a few ideas on how you can use cut flowers very effectively and not take a lot of time. Take for instance these Gilbert daisies. Just pick up a bundle of them and tie a rubber band right at the top so you can't see it. Cut off the stems and just drop them in a vase like that. What could be more beautiful? Or go to the florist and pick up a bundle of stock in peach, some beautiful peach-colored heather, and a bundle of these gorgeous peach-colored roses. You see, what makes this effective is that I have three different flower forms all working together. The tall spikiness of the stock, the light ethereal nature of the heather, and then these big bold roses. And then potpourri. Just think about peeling off the outer petals of these roses like this and just dropping them in a clear vase. Very effective. You know, I believe in saving every part of the rose because, well, they're expensive. And I also want them to last as long as they can when they're fresh and gorgeous like this. And I learned that it really comes from the watering of them. Once you're ready to arrange them in a vase, make a solution of 50-50 lemon lime soda and water and a dash of bleach. Also, before you slide your flowers into the solution, remove all the lower leaves. This will help keep the water fresh and clear. Okay, now take a look at this last arrangement over here. I know it may appear complicated, but it's really not. What I did is I just started with a large, clear cylinder vase, like this. And I took a bundle of gladiola that I just picked up at the grocery store. There's about 10 in a bundle. And I just stripped off the lower leaves and then cut them at the height I wanted. And then put them in and surrounded them with peaches. And then poured water in around them. Pretty effective, don't you think? Now, I know that you may think of gladiola as being a florist flower, and they certainly are, but you know, they really are easy to grow in the garden. Even though the tall hybrid that we're used to seeing in the florist is tropical in origin, there are other varieties that are hardier. In fact, this variety is called the hardy gladiola, and it's excellent as a perennial, and it will grow in some of the colder areas of the country. You know, there's really nothing to planting gladiolas. All you need is a sunny location and soil that's average but well drained. I'm planting these in rows, and I'm spacing the bulbs about 4 inches apart and planting them about 4 inches deep. Now for continuous bloom through the summer, I'll plant more bulbs every 2 weeks. Now the great thing about this hardy gladiolus is it only grows to 20 inches tall, which means I don't have to stake it like you do the tall hybrids. After the break, we'll take a look at how I'm using these interesting trees. And don't forget about that Texas peach cobbler recipe that's coming up. Now before we leave this Color Corner segment, here's a plant I just have to share. Large lemon yellow flowers are unique for a Shasta daisy. This quality makes Broadway lights a sunny face in the garden. But that's just the beginning of the show. The flowers transform to a buttery yellow cream color and finally turn pure white. Flowering begins early in summer and continues deep into the fall. Broadway lights is a full sun perennial and it's ideal for zones 5 through 11. You know, the plant kingdom is a fascinating realm. There are certain members of the same family that look nothing alike. For instance, roses and apples. In the same family, but how different could they be? You know, as a designer, I've used both apples and roses to create interesting design effects, such as accenting the entry of my fountain garden with climbing roses. And at the Garden Home Retreat, I'm using Espalier apple trees to break up the long rooms in the vegetable garden. Espalier trees have been used in gardens for centuries, and they have both ornamental and practical applications. We visited Peter Tevenot at the River Road Farms in Tennessee to learn more about these unique tree forms.
The Espalier tree is a wonderfully versatile tree. Any tree can be trained into a form. When you think about training an Espalier tree for your garden, there are some suggestions I'd like to make. Number one is you need to decide what the shape, height, and width of your Espalier tree is going to be. Number two, you need to analyze location. It needs to be planted in a healthy environment where you get ample sunshine. We train in the classic European style, which includes the candelabra shape, the horizontal cordon, the fan, the arbors and tunnels, and Belgian fence. You pick the plant, you decide what purpose that you want the tree to serve, and train it to that form. And you will end up with a spectacular end result. Living architecture in your garden. What in the world could be better than that?
Gardening really is fascinating when you think about the number of plants that we grow in our own gardens that we find in gardens around the world. Either by visiting them, we see them, or looking in books. Recently, I had the International Master Gardeners visit my Garden Home Retreat, where I had a visitor from Elmer, Ontario. Her name is Helen Smith, and she was telling me about some of the stereotypes we Americans must have about Canadian gardeners.
It's very funny. You hear, oh, you're gardening, isn't it snowing or isn't it cold? They perceive as soon as you cross the American border that you're in frigid country, and yet our temperatures are like New York State. We've got, at the moment, things are just coming up. The roses have been cut back, and you're much further ahead than what we are. But I believe our summers are about the same, and our planting or our growing season seems to be a little longer than here because of the heat. I think things go a little dormant, but we have a beautiful spring, which is lovely, warm summers, and even, you know, very humid, and beautiful, beautiful falls.
Smell that? It's something good. Fresh from the Viking Cooking School in Dallas. This simple to make peach cobbler is coming up next, so stick around. Over the years, I've tried many recipes using peaches, from peach shortcake to curried fruit. But cobbler is really where it's at when it comes to peaches. Chef Scott Campbell of the Viking Cooking School and the Milestone Culinary Institute met up with us in Dallas for his version of peach cobbler.
One of the most exciting things about the summer here in Texas is the Fredericksburg peaches. These peaches are absolutely the best peaches in the world, but during the summer we don't always have time to celebrate them in a proper way. So this is a wonderful recipe we call Texas Peach Cobbler on the fly. What we're going to do is we're going to start with our clean peaches. We're going to cut a small piece off the bottom of the peach about the size of a quarter. That'll give us a nice firm base to work with. And then we're going to slice into the peach from the top down, encircling the pit right in the middle. Once we get that circle cut, we're going to cut away the flesh over the pit and lift out the pit as one piece. Now we want to take a small spoon and remove the pith that's inside there. This is the cling that holds the stone right to the peach meat. And once we've got it cleaned out like that, we're going to fill it with some canned peach pie filling. It's real important that you use pie filling and not just canned peaches, because that pie filling has that wonderful sweet sauce that we look forward to in any cobbler. Once we've got the peach filled, we're going to add it to our baking dish. And now I'm going to come up with the crust. That is the best part of the cobbler for me. This is very simple, very quick. I start with cake mix. You can use any flavor you want. I like spice, it kind of gives it a nice kick. And I add a whole box of dry cake mix. To that, we're going to put in 1 stick of butter. And you want it about room temperature. And about 1/2 cup of anything crunchy. I like pecans. Texas pecans makes this. So I've got about 1/2 cup in there. And what we'll do is just mix this all together with a fork, and when it's all done, it'll look just like this. And then you just generously sprinkle it over the top of the peaches. You got to pack it on nice and tight. So easy that a chef could do it. In fact, this recipe was taught to me by an 8-year-old. From the mouths of babes come pearls. All we're going to do now is just pack this in around it, and then we'll pop it right in the oven. I'm going to be baking these at about 375 for 45 minutes. And today I'm going to be using my electric smoker oven. I've left the wood chips out and just using the natural patina of the smoker to give it that wonderful rustic Texas flavor. All you need to do now is put one of these bad boys on a plate with a big scoop of vanilla ice cream and celebrate the bounty of a wonderful Texas summer afternoon.
I got to tell you, that recipe is some kind of good, so give it a try. Well, that's all the time we have for today's show. You know, all the information, including that recipe, can be found on my website, pallensmith.com. Well, now I'm going to take these peaches and get them in the kitchen and put them to work. Until next time, from the garden, I'm Alan Smith.
In this garden I dream of a bed of flowers. Bluebirds sing of the beauty all around us. And every time the sun comes out, I can't help but smile. Oh, no, I can't help but smile.